Hey guys, welcome to week 11. In this video, I'm going to go through some JavaScript array functions you could use for your projects. They're simple functions that are fairly easy to use once you know how they work. I'm going to go over three common ones, and they're called the filter, map, and reduce functions. You might have used them or heard about them once or twice, or maybe haven't used them, and this is your first time learning, and I'll be going through some simple examples that I hope can help you understand them a little better so you can use them in your code. Before I get into it, I just found this funny tweet that you can see on your screen that explains each function using emojis. You might be able to get an idea of what they do if you pause and look at it for a little bit. At least the map and the filter functions are a little easier to understand, but I'll move on now to the actual coding to give you a better explanation. So let's get started. First, I want to show you the array that we'll be working with to demo these different array functions. Here I've created an array of fruits that stores 6 fruit objects, and every object has been given a name property and a price property. The first function I want to show you is the filter function. The filter function does what you'd expect. It filters through all the items in an array and returns a new array filled with the items that met your filter condition. I'm going to create a new variable that will store the filtered fruits in a new array. We'll call it filtered fruits. To use the filter function, you enter the name of the array and then use the .filter keyword. Inside of this method, you'll create a function that takes in a name that will represent the value of your object as it loops through your array. In this case, we'll call it fruit. So what this function is going to do is it's going to loop through all the elements in your array and then check if that element met the criteria that you specify in the function body. In this case, I put price is greater than or equal to 5, so it's going to store all the objects that cost more than $4. To see how this works, I'm going to send the filtered results to the console. As you can see in the console, it returns 3 items that have prices greater than 4. Now I'm going to show you the next array function called the map function. So this map function looks exactly like the filter function. The only difference is that you're going to use the .map keyword. So I'm going to copy this code and use it for the map function, and then switch this out to map. We'll change the variable array to fruit names. And we'll change the return value to fruit.name. The main purpose of this map method is to just create a new array using objects or properties from an old array. In this example, the map function will loop through all the elements in the array and return the name property values into this new array we've already created. The map array takes only one parameter again, which is a function with the fruit object as its only argument, just like we did in the filter function. As you can see in the console, the map function has taken the names and put them all into our new array. And now I'm going to show you the reduce function. Reduce is different than the last two functions because it takes more parameters and it doesn't return an array. Usually, reduce is used to find the sum of values or numbers. It's called reduce because it reduces an array of values down to only one value. Let's create a variable called total to find the sum of all the fruit prices. Again, this variable will just return one number. To use the reduce function, you'll use the array name and the .reduce keyword. The reduce function uses something called a callback function as one parameter and a start value as the second parameter. Inside the callback function, we have two arguments. The first one we'll name current total because it'll be the new total after every iteration. The second argument is the fruit object. In the callback function body, we're returning the sum of the current fruit price and the current total. During the first loop, the total will be 0 because we're going to set the second parameter of the reduce function, which is the start value, to 0. After every iteration, the current total will change and be set as a new previous value. When all of the elements in the array have been reached, we'll get our total price of fruit. Now we'll send the total to the console and we'll get to see the total price of the fruits. As you can see in the console, the reduce function has reduced the array of fruits to one value, a total price of 29. The great thing about these array functions are that they're pretty simple to implement and you don't need to write out as many loops, making them handy to use. I want to show you a couple of examples of how you can use the map and filter functions on our weather project. Last week we used the weather forecast API and we needed to grab a 5-day forecast from this data. In order to do this, I initially created a for loop to put the day objects in an array called forecast. But after learning about these functions, I realized that the filter function could easily perform this function and allow me to write less code. Let me show my example. Here I'm going to write the filter function that's going to replace my old for loop. I'm going to keep the same forecast name as my forecast array that's going to hold my 5-day objects. Here I'm going to put the array I want to get the data from, which is jsobject.list, and then I'll put the filter keyword, and inside of this will be my day object, and then I want the condition to check if the data is the forecast for 6 o'clock. So I'll use the includes function. And in just one line of code, I'm able to create a new array with only the day objects I actually need for the forecast. If you look in the console, you can see that it made an array of 5 for the 5 days we just filtered out. If you look down below, I've already written a second function that uses the map function, and it grabs the temperatures using the forecast array that we just made. And as you can see in the console, the map function has looped through and grabbed the temperatures from these 5 days to create a new temperature array. And that's all the examples I have to show you. I hope they were helpful, and I hope you're able to see how much shorter and simpler it is to use these array functions. So I really want to encourage you to now go out and try to use these array functions in your own projects, and I promise they're going to make your life a lot easier. You don't have to write extra loops, and it's really nice. I really hope this video was simple enough to follow along and that you have a better idea of how each function works. There are definitely a lot more ways you can use these 3 functions. If you want to learn more and see more examples, you can go to this webpage on freecodecamp.org, and it explains these functions in a little bit more detail and shows some different uses and ways to write them. There's a great video near the bottom of the page that shows more examples of how to use these functions. So this is the end of the video. I really hope this video was helpful, And if you have any questions, leave them in the chat and I'll try my best to answer them. Good luck with week 11, and I really hope you can have fun using these JavaScript array functions. That's everything. Thank you so much.